Welcome to the Nearly Fresh Topics podcast. We are nearly fresh because we've been on the cusp of cool for basically our whole lives, but never getting quite over the hump. We're almost cool, so nearly fresh. And it's also an initialism of NFTs, which you all know and maybe you don't, but fuck it. It's non fungible tokens. By the way, Jason, I hope we're able to swear in this because we've fucked it already.
I don't see why not. Yeah, I'll drop the occasional F-bomb from every now and then. It's not part of my culture, but as it may be with yours, but it'll happen.
It's imprinted in my DNA. Like Rosanna's always giving me shit, like especially swearing around children. You know, fucking stop it. She's a teacher, you know. So,
right.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, nearly fresh topics. What we're going to be talking about is non-fungible tokens, which is obviously a crypto thing we'll get into for beginners. But I assume most people listening to us to begin with will be familiar with it. So we'll be talking about NFT projects.
The audience we steal from our NFT projects will know what NFTs are.
Well, hopefully, or they're in the wrong fucking place. Okay, so we're going to be talking about NFTs. We share a love of fantasy books, fantasy movies. Particularly at the moment, we're talking Wheel of Time, the new Amazon Prime video release. Which has been amazing. By the way, I caught up to episode 6, by the way, but episode 7 is released. I've still got to. So I've been doing some work, you know. Yeah. And also we'll be talking a lot about our love of comedy, some serious talks about philosophy, mental health, particularly men's mental health. And this is what the podcast is going to be about. So introducing us both, Jason, why don't you let us know who you are and why you're doing this and whatever you can think of.
Sure. That was a pretty good summary of I think what the show is going to be about, and it'll obviously evolve over time. And my name is Jason. I'm also known as the Penguin VA online. I may be better known as the Penguin VA than I've ever been known as Jason. I live here in lovely, dark northern Canada, not as far north as you can get. I'm in a city called Edmonton, and what else can I tell you about myself? Community manager primarily for a few different NFT projects. So that's really where I found kind of my niche is apparently I'm not too bad at community managing and getting people excited and engaged and organizing for NFT projects. So I quite enjoy that. And that's how you and I met. And who are you?
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for asking. Allow me to introduce myself.
Oh, and this is Mando.
I was about to say, like, you had your hand over here, like, because an ear just appeared out of the cosmos. You know, I was like, what's going on?
This podcast is actually just a way for me to show off my 4 cats. So you'll see them all as we record, and you'll also notice that as much as we try to clean this up in editing, there's probably going to be a fair amount of crosstalk, especially for the first few episodes, because we're getting used to it. Anyways, without further ado, who are you?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So the name's Ross A. Campbell. I have to add the A in there because there's like another more famous Ross Campbell. But so be it, you know. Ross A. Campbell. I color comic books for a living. Professional comic book colorist, they would call me. And I've recently gotten into the world of NFTs. Like Jason says, it's where we met. And it's sort of where I see myself going to NFTs and video games, which seem to get more and more linked as the days go by. And we are measuring it in days, really. It's going that fast. But no, I live in the north of Scotland, from Scotland myself. Don't care to move, although it's freezing. Like I'm in my house just now, but I've got like the leather jacket and the fucking snood on, you know. It's with some work to do, but it's fucking cold, man. Dark as well. Dark, so.
Yeah, I think you may be further north than me, which is saying something.
I would say that's a good summary of who I am.
What was your first experience with NFTs?
This had to do with Mark McKenna. So Mark McKenna is an artist, a Marvel DC artist from yonder year, who is into NFTs himself. He was first contacted by Maker's Place because he done Star Wars comics before, and Maker's Place was like, we could get Mark to do licensed Star Wars. I've been working with Mark for, I don't know, maybe coming up to 5 years, I would say. So when this happened to Mark, I was sort of included because like I'm his go-to guy for colors. He done a collaboration of Jose Delbo, who is also another comic book legend, more golden age stuff. I think he's getting up there in years, like 80, 84, I like to say, but I couldn't say exactly. But he and Mark done a collaboration of a few characters. There was Wonder Woman, Deadpool, and another three characters I can't remember. And I think that was my first mention that I got of NFTs is, oh, this is for an NFT. Have you ever heard of that? No, I've not. And then, you know, I don't know, it must have been a year now, but like a year later, I'm balls deep in it. So that was my first experience is the art stuff. You know, it has been a boon for artists for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I wasn't early by any stretch of the means. So I'm still fucking. I'm a latecomer as far as.
Well, I'd argue we're all still early, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, true. Well, how about yourself then? When did? Because you've been into crypto for a wee bit.
I've been into crypto, separate from NFTs. I've been into crypto, yeah, for quite a while. I think I started dabbling in mining Bitcoin in 2013. So it's been quite the, I don't have any from when I started mining. It would be great if I did, because Bitcoin. I think the first time I invested in Bitcoin, it was worth $250 per coin, and now it's obviously worth 70,000 USD per coin or something, or 60,000 USD per coin.
It's such a strange thing, right? Because even 250 at that time would have felt like, that's too much. I can't afford to fucking put 250 into this if I wanted to buy something.
No, exactly.
Sorry for interrupting you there.
No, it's exactly so. I spent not much money, 30-40 bucks on what's called an ASIC, application specific integrated circuit, and that's what you use to mine. That's what you use to mine Bitcoin. Because very quickly, the great thing about Bitcoin when it first started was that you could mine it just using the CPU built into your computer, and then eventually it became too powerful for that, so you had to use the GPU in your computer. But these days, if you were to use your CPU or GPU, you'd burn out your computer. Like it's not possible. So I bought an ASIC, but even the one I bought was way out of date, right? I just wanted to figure out what it was all about. So I bought it, I mined a little bit of Bitcoin, and that little bit of Bitcoin would be worth, I don't even want to think about it right now. So I used Brave browser because of its crypto sort of centric privacy policies and the fact that you can earn crypto while browsing. And through Brave, it's actually funny. Brave brought NFTs to my attention in two different ways. But the first way was through a game called Upland. And Upland is a property based game. It's sort of like real world Monopoly.
Yeah.
So Upland will go in and they open various cities, and they have a few cities across the US. And you just go in and you buy property, and each individual property that you purchase is an NFT. And so that was sort of my first experience with NFTs. And that led me to the Wax blockchain, which is where a lot of the companion projects for Upland, or some of the community driven projects for Upland, come from, is the Wax blockchain. And then that kind of just led me down this rabbit hole to to what it's become, which is literally my whole life. I work in NFTs for a living now. It's what pays the bills. It's pretty hard to believe.
And I suppose in Upland, it was, well, while you were dealing with the sort of, like, there was a community, I suppose, that you were involved with. Like,
Yeah,
you, not as a like managing, but maybe just like you seen that everybody was talking to each other. It was all a pleasant time, let's say.
that's
Like,
right.
what was that a draw to you? Like,
It
oh, this
it
is cool.
was. It
Everyone's
very
nice.
much was. So through Upland, I didn't have a specific Upland community, at least not when I first started. But in jumping onto the Discord for Upland, because I realized that's where all the action was, and I hadn't really been like I'd had Discord prior to that, but I hadn't really used it that much. So jumping onto the Discord, I sort of started to see all of these um, community initiated companion projects to Upland. And through that, I ended up meeting a couple people um, who I then partnered with, both just from a kind of a friendly community perspective, and also from a I guess from a business perspective. Partnering with those people allowed me to connect with what ended up becoming my first community management job, did with Metaforce Comics, which is on the Wax blockchain, as I've been talking about. And um, that was my first community management gig. I've done real world things, which I suppose are similar to community management. You know, I've organized and fundraised and helped run election campaigns and things like that. So those are all aspects of community management, I would say. But that was the first time, yeah, with Metaforce, that I actually was in charge of managing a community. And that's become a really awesome experience. And then I was able to hook up with the Master Brews team, again, alerted to them by Brave. They did some Brave advertising for their own set of NFTs. And so I was able to hook
All
up
right.
with them, and in a weird, small world, falling under the category of it's a small world. I was involved with Master Brews in one direction. Some of my colleagues that I knew independently came to Master Brews from a completely different direction. And then I was sort of able to go like, oh, weird, I have a connection to them through my own. I also have a connection to them a little bit through Metaforce. So it's just kind of funny how kind of stars aligned. And now I work for Master Brews as one of my clients full time. So it's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think it's interesting. Although I suppose it should come as no surprise if you have similar interests and you're sort of going in the same direction. It's no surprise that you would intersect again, you know. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, it is pleasant. You know, it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
how the hell did that happen? I dig that. I
Yeah.
dig that. Um,
It's
I,
it's really interesting.
I'd sorry, on you go.
Oh, I
Oh no,
apologize. I
please.
was just gonna say it's interesting how small and interconnected the NFT community is. Um, even and that's why I think we're still early to it, because really what we spend a lot of time talking about in the NFT community is community, and how you still need really a
Yeah,
community to be successful, right? So um yeah, it's crazy to me how small the community is, and in some ways getting smaller. And I don't mean um, smaller by number of people. I just mean more tightly connected and more interconnected.
yeah, yeah. It's like you say, it's small in that sense, but I mean, it's also vast. Like the amount of projects, for example, Christ, I wouldn't even want to say it's like 20x. It's probably more than that. It's 50x in the last few months, you know. So in a sense, it's very large and intimidating. And you know, how the hell are you ever going to make a name for yourself out there? And I'm still fucking pondering that question. Although I've had a bit of luck with Master Brews, only in the sense, people wouldn't see Ross A. Campbell and think, oh, Master Brews, heroes and villains, but they would see me in the heroes and villains chat and be like, oh, that's Ross. And, like, I did try my luck in like the one-on-one markets, and one-on-ones being just like single pieces of artwork, maybe sort of fine art, not generated. And well, I've still got a few pieces up on Ethereum to the tune of maybe like five ether per piece. Well, that's the most expensive one. And to be fair, I don't know who's going to buy it at that price, but I figure, well, I may as well list things very highly, because in a sense, if you don't, like, no one else is going to do it for you. I feel like you have to be your own sort of cheerleader. And I'm like, because a couple of these pieces I'm very, very proud of. But yeah, fuck it. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, you're right. You have to value your work, right? Otherwise, who else is going to? So, spoiler alert for anyone who intends on watching The Wheel of Time or reading The Wheel of Time, that the next, say, I don't know, at least 10 minutes probably will be about, I'll put up some sort of sign that says, stop fast forwarding or something. So if you want to listen to the rest of the podcast, but you don't want to listen to the Wheel of Time talk, then you can skip ahead at this point. So Wheel of Time episode 6. So remind me what's the last, where are the characters right now?
Okay, the characters are in Tarvalon. Everyone's met up again. So Matt and Egwene.
Yeah.
Egwene. This is Eggy. This is a point I had actually written down that I wanted to discuss. How different are the pronunciations of the names that you thought were going to be? Because I'm not sure. I'm not even sure that's a fucking good question. Like, grammatically correct.
Egwene. That's pretty similar to how I heard it in my head. Egwene, I think, is how it is in my head. Yeah. Nynaeve is not how I pronounced it, and I think that's how they pronounced it. Yeah. I always said, like, I don't know what I called her in my head, like Nineveh almost, or something like that.
I had Nynaeve, I think. Nynaeve. I was calling her in my head.
Yeah.
But Nynaeve seems to be the way.
And then I guess there isn't really any other odd.
Well, you've got Aes Sedai.
I
think I was saying Aes Sedai in my head.
I was too, even though I read a pronunciation guide early on that I think said it was supposed to be Sedai. In my head, I still called it Sedai.
Right. Well, that's fair enough. It's who needs to listen to whatever they have to say in books? Fuck those guys.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it's all about what they tell us, how they tell us to pronounce it.
Exactly.
All right. So they've all been okay. See, it's only because I'm on camera. They don't want anything to do with me when I'm not on camera.
So you're having too much fun up there by yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
Animals don't realize we're interacting with other people. I feel like my dog just sees me staring at the wall for days and days, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So what the fuck is wrong with that guy?
What is he doing? He's having a stroke. Right. So they've met in Tarvalon. Was the stuff with Egwene and Perrin and the White Cloaks the previous episode then? Episode 5?
I think so. Where when they got caught, and say got caught. I suppose they did get caught.
They got caught.
Yeah.
They got caught because Aram doesn't know how to protect people. So because he's just he's the way of the leaf. So what can he do? Right. He's gonna get run down by those White Cloaks.
Well, that's the way it is. I can't remember how they said their name as well, like Anowethwin or something.
Oh yeah, the
You remember?
Tuathor. Oh no, it's not Tuathor. Because there's so many, because then there's also the sea folk, not the
Yeah,
Shanshan,
yeah.
but the sea folk. They also have a weird name.
That's right. That's right.
Anywho,
Aye.
how much do you hate Child Valda?
Oh, he's a very dislikable character.
Yeah.
Uh, Christ Almighty.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the depiction of the Children of the Light to be so evil to begin with. Like they were sort of foreboding in the books, but so far I'm thinking maybe a bit too much unwarranted cruelty in that sort of vibe. But I get why they're doing it. Um, I wonder how like we've all got memories of how the books are, and I wonder like how accurate are my memories now because it has been a few years. So anything that I say, maybe it's a bit too cruel, children of light, yada yada. Like maybe that's just bullshit. Maybe I'm just wrong. But
They
go for
got
it.
crueler throughout the
Uh-huh.
books as you got to know them more throughout the books.
Mm.
I think they became just monsters.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I got that impression. Like at the start, it's more like they're just another faction,
Yeah.
doing what they do, and like the Aes Sedai sort of dislike them, and that's it. But now they're like, they're well practically at war, I suppose, like a sort of cold war where the children of the light are being bastards, and maybe the Aes Sedai are just not giving a fuck just now. I don't know, but it's cool. It's interesting. It's intriguing.
It's intriguing because like that thought struck me was, how can this version of the Children of the Light be so powerful, right? All
Mm,
those Aes Sedai rings that Valda had collected, like that was
mm.
a substantial number of Aes Sedai.
That's a lot.
And right where Perrin and Egwene get caught,
Mm,
that's in full view of Tar Valon. How are the
yeah.
sisters? How are the sisters allowing the White
Mm,
Cloaks to operate so close to Tar Valon, right? So
yeah.
I think it really underscores how much the Aes Sedai power is dwindling, and how
Yeah.
Logain kind of hit it on the head when he said, like, 100 years ago, there's no way I would have been able to build the army that I built, but
Mm,
today I
mm.
was able to do it.
That's interesting. I didn't think of it that way because when I seen the Children of the Light and Tar Valon in the background, I was like, "There's no way that would happen." Like just get some fucking sisters out there and like scour the roads and fuck them off, basically.
Right.
But you raised a good point about how their power is diminishing, and that could be a bit of foreshadowing, really. Very smart, very smart. Changes my perspective.
And another really good comment I heard about, because there's obviously a lot of people who are having trouble kind of reconciling what's happening on the show with what they know from the books. And I have a good friend, actually, he and I got into a fight because of some of the differences, and how I was kind of embracing them and he wasn't. But nevertheless, this is just a different turning of the wheel. So this doesn't necessarily mean, right, this is a different turning than the turning that we got in the books. So
Right.
yes, some similarities may be happening, but ultimately it's a different turning. So
Mhm,
events
mhm.
are going to be slightly different.
I'm not too annoyed at the differences. In fact, I wouldn't even say that. I'm not even noticing a lot of differences. Like for example, when I was reading comments before having seen the episodes, that maybe they've changed the dragon, or here's why someone else's dragon works. In the actual show, I've not seen any hint at a change of main character or a change in the dragon. Like
Mhm,
none at
mhm.
all. There's been some speculation within the characters being like, oh, maybe it's who was it, Nynaeve, when she healed everyone in that after
Right.
the Logain fight. But we knew that she was a strong weaver anyway. So it's like, all right, some characters within the show are thinking, oh, maybe it's a different person. But yeah, I've not seen anything that struck me as, nah, I don't like this. It's not similar to the books. So far so good. I think they've kept the story good, I think.
And without spoiling anything in the episode that you haven't seen yet, I will just say that that sort of carries on, if that makes
Okay.
sense. So
Mhm.
speaking of that, Nynaeve, what do we land on? Nynaeve. Speaking of the wisdom's healing capability, what did you think of that when friggin Logain cuts down everybody and Lan gets his throat slashed and then Nynaeve saves the day?
Yeah, I was actually really worried because, like I say, I was looking out for these hints that, oh, things are going to change, you know. And I was like, oh shit, we can't lose Lan, for example. He was just bleeding out. I was like, there's no way Aes Sedai magic can fucking solve that now. It's too far gone. And then this big blast of healing happens, and I was like, oh, fucking thank God, because he's such a great character, and I love. I think I love this depiction of him. Like, that's another thing. I want to get into like the ethnicities of people, and I think so far the only gripe that I've had that doesn't make sense, because, well, I was going to say, like, I love Lan's character, like the Asian appearance and whatnot, sort of samurai look almost, like very warrior-esque, very bold. But the one ethnicity change that I thought didn't work was the main character Rand, because I'm not sure if you fucking I'm not sure if you remember this, but he was born of the Aiel, who live in like a very deserty plain, very like fucking no water whatsoever. So he's supposed to be like, the characteristics are brown with red hair, you know, whereas he's white as snow, you know. Like the actual village itself, the Two Rivers, is quite homogenous, and then he's supposed to be the sort of outlier. Like, oh, look at Rand, but still they're fucking taking him in as the body of the Kirk, as they would say in Scotland, which just means, you know, you're part of the community.
Right. Oh, okay.
And I think that's everything looks good to me apart from that. But is it a problem? Probably not. It's just, you know, I like books to be. I like the movies or the adaptations to follow certain.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I can't comment because of what I know in the next episode. So I will just say stay tuned.
Right. Okay.
But
okay,
yeah,
let me guess then. Let me guess. Is it Rand's father was white?
no.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't want to say, because you may come back and tell me I don't know what you're talking about. That didn't resolve any of my concerns.
Right,
so
okay.
but it is a cool man. Yeah. So yeah, I really liked I also really like Lan's portrayal. I think the actor's name, I believe, is Daniel Henney, and he is doing just a fantastic job as Lan, and we get to see some of the Borderlands in the next episode. So
yeah, I'm excited for that. Speaking of portrayals, I think Rosamund Pike, who I barely know, I've seen her in other things, but when I first seen Moraine like in the trailer, I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about her doing it, but excellent portrayal as well, you know. I'm not sure what I like about it. She's just good, just works.
The main comment I hear about Moraine and Lan, and it's not necessarily a criticism, it's just pointing out a difference. The major the discussion I've heard about Lan and Moraine is they're portrayed as much harder and more stoic in the books, whereas they seem to be just a little bit friendlier and a little bit more playful in the TV show. And I think you kind of have to do that, right? You can't have a character that you can't, like, if Lan was, what am I trying to say? it took like 3 or 4 books for you to start to view Lamb as
A
an
human
actual
being.
character, as a human
Yeah.
being. You can't take 3 or 4 seasons to do that
Yeah.
here, right? You've
Yeah.
got to do that from early on.
I would say the first 3 episodes, Alan was quite stoic, apart from like when they were both having that bath in the inn, Alvir's Inn. And there was a bit of smile, but I think they were like more friendly in between the Aes Sedai and the Warder, but outwardly they were a bit more. I wouldn't like to say hostile, but yeah, less friendly. So like within their bonds, you've seen a bit of playfulness, but outwardly it was like, yeah, they're big scary characters. Maybe it only lasted 2 episodes, I'm not sure, but I think we got that first impression, and now yeah, he's thawed a lot quicker, like you say.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up the environments in the Wheel of Time. I had a couple of impressions. The Two Rivers, I think, was tremendous. Like it was exactly how I thought it was going to be in the books. What was your impression?
Yes, I agree. It even the scene that I have clearest in my mind from the books is Rand and Tam walking Bella into town. And so I'm glad we got a glimpse. You know, it obviously wasn't exactly as I imagined it, but I'm really glad we got that journey, and we got to see everything, and yeah, the landscape is amazing. And when they pushed Egwene into the water and just that whole scene, yeah, very cool.
That was cool. It was funny. I always laugh
Yeah.
when people get pushed and have a big fright. Still on the environments, we recently got to see Tar Valon, and my impression was not as tall as it should have been. You know?
A little stubby.
Very stubby construct, you could say. Like the White Tower, in my remembering of the book, is just so high, like you can barely see the top, sort of thing. Yeah. Even though it's still a very imposing structure, and not what I thought it was. I'm intrigued to see the stone. Is it the Stone of Tear or Tear?
Yeah, I always say Tear. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see the stone, because that's also a very foreboding. I was going to say instrument there. Construction.
Palace, fortress.
Yeah, fortress.
Because is it Ogier built as well?
Yeah.
Ogier, not ogre.
No.
Speaking of which, not to take you off your environment beat, but what did you think of Loyal?
I thought he was cool. Another issue with height, though. I think he should have been much bigger. Sorry, on you.
I read an article that basically said they did not want to make it CGI, and they did not want to. They basically decided, like, let's make him as big and as tall as we can with just prosthetics and without needing any sort of supports or anything.
Yeah.
So that was a conscious decision they made, because they felt CGIing up some character would probably not be sustainable.
Yeah, well, I mean, it must cost an arm and a leg to do it right. And speaking of doing it right, I noticed a couple of bloops, let's say, in the CGI in the first couple of episodes at least, but nothing too bad. I mean, and I think the Trollocs were done well, and the magic was cool. Not what I expected, but like, well, speaking of the magic and the weaving, the intro video, I'm not sure what you call that, the intro short that they do with the intro music and that, like the whole weaving.
Like the opening, like the opening credits. Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. Like, I love the music. I love the like that explosion of magic, and the weaves are all going through the air. And I thought it was like really artistic and beautiful, and like I don't even skip it, you know, when I watch a new episode. I'm like, all right, cool, let me see this shit again.
Actually, you know, speaking of the music, I don't mind that opening. For the first few episodes, though, I was really put off by the music. It took me right out of the show.
All right.
I felt like it was too, like, almost they were like forcing like Lord of the Rings style, like, I don't want to call it like Irish folk song or whatever, but to me it just sounded way too like Celtic, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got like a bit of that hurdy-gurdy feel to it, you know?
Yeah,
You
yeah, and
know that
I
instrument.
haven't noticed it. I haven't noticed it in the last few episodes, so I don't know if that means it's changed or maybe I'm just getting used to it,
Mhm.
and so I'm not noticing it anymore. But yeah, that was really my only complaint through the first
Mhm.
few episodes was
Mhm.
the score.
Ah, well. So it's warmed on you a bit.
Yeah, I must have, yeah, or
Yeah.
or they changed it to be better, one or the other.
Yeah.
But
They changed it to suit you, I think. It's like
yeah,
hearing some bad things from that Jason one.
yeah, that's right.
All right. Okay, I had another thing was, oh, that's right. And this is just a, this is the first episode when the Trollocs attacked, and Tam Althor, the father of Rand, got his sword out, and you had this close up shot of the mark of the
Heron.
heron on the sword, you know, and
Oh
like
yeah,
that was a moment for me,
damn.
you know. They always
Yeah.
add like a wee little thing in for the fans, you know, and I was like, ah, goosebumps, man. Mark of the
Yeah.
heron, that's the mark of the sword master. Fucking
Oh
Tam
yeah. Oh
Althor,
yeah.
what is going on, eh?
Tam Althor. What a
What do you
badass.
know? But
Tam
I
Althor.
think we discovered that in the books a bit further on, right? Or was that the
Yeah,
first?
no, Rand gets the Heron mark pretty early.
Ah,
Like Tam gives him the sword pretty early because that
okay, all
Trolloc
right.
attack all happens. Speaking of the Trollocs, like
Hmm.
I was really worried that they would look like shit, but
Yeah,
they don't.
no, that's right.
And I think that's the best that's the best compliment you can give, is that they don't look like shit. That's not to say I don't think they look good. I just mean in
Ah.
the grand scheme of things, like I'd love to go up to the creator and be like, hey, they didn't look like shit, good job, you know. I also, I thought it was I thought I was all prepared to get angry. You know, the scene where we finally found out what happened to Nynaeve and how she got away from the Trollocs.
Yeah,
I thought we were about to see a Trolloc show some compassion for its
yeah.
wounded
Mhm.
compatriot, and I was about to get really angry.
Yeah.
And then he
No,
just
that's not
goes
how
to
it
town.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he just goes to town, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
I think that's what we're portraying Nynaeve as seeing, you know. She was like, oh my god, they're gonna be nice to one another. And then oh holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of humanity, but no, none of that.
No,
That's good.
not at all.
So anyway, getting back to NFTs, we were supposed to find a project that we really like the look of and just discuss it openly for anyone to hear about. Now, you said you
Yeah.
had something, that you found something.
Yeah, I'll set up my screen share here if it lets me. Yeah, so Novo Pangea is a project on the Wax blockchain. And as we get more and more into the podcast and into the episodes, I think our viewers will become familiar with Wax if they're not already. Um, I like Novo Pangea for a few different reasons. I like the art. Um, I really like anything that kind of has to do with, well, you can see here, light, water, time, earth, space, shadow. So I kind of like the idea of different elements coming together to form different things. I like the art here. Um,
Yeah, the art's
you can
cool.
see all the different styles of art. And then
Hmm.
I really like it because they're going to allow the community to vote on where they want the story to go,
Right.
and kind of they'll draw art as the story progresses.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, you can
So,
see an example of a vote they'll take here, kind of deal.
so this is a video game, or is that collectibles sort of card game?
So to begin with, it's a collectible card game.
Right.
And then I believe it's actually going to be turned into like a video style video game.
Gotcha.
Um, I like you know, um, land, NFT land is
Yeah.
has caught fire recently, and they're offering their early adopters a way to you can trade in or burn some of the original NFTs in exchange for land.
Oh,
So
cool.
I like that they're kind of offering land without it being, oh well, you've got to spend another, $500 on it or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's the other nice thing about the Wax blockchain, is that it tends to be significantly cheaper than projects that you'd find on Ethereum. And that's not to say the project is cheaper or worse or worth less. It's just that there's an expectation with Wax that it'll be cheaper but more frequent drops, as opposed to with Ethereum, when I think you maybe get one drop and then that's that, or maybe a couple drops or whatever, right? The other reason I really like this project, and this is something that has become near and dear to my heart lately, and I think warrants maybe a larger discussion on another episode perhaps, is the fact that the team is basically doxed.
Right.
So it's not doxed to the same extent that you or I are in some of our projects. People know who you, it wouldn't be that difficult. I don't think somebody could show up at your house if they wanted to, but it wouldn't be that difficult to find you. And I think that's the same for me, and that's the same with the Master Bruce team and the other people on Heroes and Villains. And actually I had a question about that I'll circle back to, but in the meantime, so you can see here, it's not fully doxed as far as anyone's aware. This picture may not be this person's actual picture, right? So
that's not Warwick.
Right, exactly. But I like that there's at least an attempt. Although this guy, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but this guy looks like Charles Manson.
Offspring. Watch out for him.
And this is about the lightest or the least amount of doxing that I now look for in a project. If I can't find out who you are, if I can't find out somebody's preferably full name, and maybe even an email address, I don't really think I want anything to do with your project anymore. And because this is a Wax project, which again doesn't have to mean it's cheaper, but in this case it happens to be cheaper. You could buy a pack of 4 NFTs for $15. So do I want to get rug pulled or lose my $15? No, obviously not. But it's easier to swallow than if I was to lose $1,500 or whatever, right?
Yeah, less risk.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts. That's Novo Pangea, NOVOPANGEA.io. Before we get to yours, I just had a quick question, which was, obviously you're doxed as part of the Heroes and Villains project. Did it ever occur to you that you wouldn't be, or did you ever think it was weird that you had to associate your full name, or is that just expected because of your background?
Yeah, I think it wasn't even a thought. Just Ross A. Campbell's on it, and that's it. But I understand that in the world of crypto, particularly if you're making bank, there's security measures, and so I understand people not wanting to be doxed, but I also understand that if you don't dox yourself, then people might not trust you, because you can just pull a rug from underneath someone. So yeah, it's for me it was never a question, but I get it. I get the practice, but never a question, and I was never worried about anything. Like I'm not making any serious bank anyway. No one's gonna fucking, well, I say no one's gonna steal from me. Someone has already, dirty bastards. But it wasn't an amount I couldn't fucking recover from.
That's good. That's good. And let's face it, it's not like I'm thinking of like Bernie Madoff. You can still be ripped off by people who who they are, right? So
Yeah,
it's not like doxing is the perfect protection, but
yeah,
it
that's right.
definitely helps.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
definitely helps.
That's well. What about you? Did you ever think is that an issue? Like, were you in the culture of anonymity? I guess, like from crypto.
Um, no, I think I've always been pretty cavalier with my online persona.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not particularly concerned, well, from a financial perspective, if somebody wants to steal my identity and take on all my debt, that is
Mhm.
fine with me.
Please do. Here is my
Yeah,
address, my social
yeah,
security number.
yeah, exactly. Um, but no, like I don't have anything to hide, and it was made clear to me when I got hired on by Master Brews that was an expectation, is that any my email address with Master Brews has my first name in it. It's Jason. So no, I again, much like you, I it wasn't a concern. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
shout my full address from the rooftops, but I I've probably dropped enough hints about where I'm from, um, and will continue to do so, especially on this podcast as we start to feel more comfortable with it. That at some point somebody's going to go, "Hey, I'm also from your city. Do you live right here?" And I'll be like, yeah, I do."
yeah, yeah. No, please don't talk to me anymore. You're
Yeah.
creeping me out.
Actually, I did have that experience with one of the Heroes and Villains community members who's also from
Oh, yeah.
my city, and he
Mhm.
had video footage of the apartment building. I'm not going to say next to mine, but pretty damn
Jeez.
close. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. Who was it? In the
Damn it, no
community.
name. Damn it, no name.
All right. Yeah. Well, he seems cool.
Yeah, there's no names.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, he is not doxed. No name.
so you've got an NFT project as well that you wanted to take us through today.
That's right. That's right. So my NFT project that I want to show, I say my NFT. It's not my NFT. It's just a project that I know of and I want to show. This is the Satoshi's Legions. Satoshi, obviously being Satoshi Nakamoto,
Yeah,
the alias of the creator of Bitcoin. Who the fuck knows who he is? It's certainly not that Craig dude, anyway.
I was gonna say,
Um,
you mean Craig Wright?
yeah, yeah. So the Satoshi's Legion, it's part of the Satoshi verse. This is made by Jose Delbo, who I mentioned earlier, who I done a collaboration with Mark McKenna, and also Apollo NFT, who is run by Delbo's grandson, Nick Frontera. Me and Nick have been talking a lot, and we collaborate a lot, but I didn't even realize he was doing this. And then one day we were just talking about doing another piece together with Jose, and he shows me this, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's amazing. So it's a PFP project, generative 10K, although minting has it ended. It's either ending today or it's ended already. So I guess if you want in, you can buy mine for 10x the price if you want.
Five ether. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Perfect. But well, as you can see, it's pretty much set up like it's like a AAA video game quality. You've got all these 3D models, all these cool um, attires and helmets and swords, and
It gives me like
basically,
V
like
for
I'm a very visual
Vendetta,
person. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
V
totally.
for Vendetta vibes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's what the mask is all about. Like I'm a very visual person, so I love the art. I love if something's stunning, like aesthetically, and I love things that are well done, like the technique is spot on, and obviously the technique is spot on with these guys. In fact, I collaborated with Nick on this piece that we done for a charity for I forget the name of it. It was basically to provide legal help and advice to the underclass, I guess you'd call them, people who couldn't afford to do it themselves. And this was also in collaboration with Diplo, with the DJ. So it was a Delbo Diplo, me, and last but not least, also the 3D artist group that done it. Who fucking can't remember the name of either. God damn it, I'm terrible at this. Let me actually, I'll find it again and we can insert it. Yeah. Now, one of the interesting things about this IP is that there's a lot of playing on the Bitcoin sort of non-inflation, what would you say, perk. You know, Bitcoin being very prominent because there will only ever be a certain amount of Bitcoin. It's not like a government can be like, let's print $12 trillion, and like everybody's money sort of fucking loosened. So I think the bad guys in this Satoshi verse is I think they're called like the defenders of fiat, The main character, the main hero is Satoshi himself. He's got two katanas, he flies, he's like a cool superhero vibe, So this is playing into I think it's very smart because what a lot of people like about Bitcoin and crypto, well, Bitcoin in particular, is this sort of safeguard against the government just sort of inflating the worth of your currency, like it's just deprecating day by day. And I know if ever you were to make a story, like a heroic story out of like Bitcoin and crypto, I think it would be this, it's like the right direction. So anyway, like I think this is practically already set up for a video game, like you've got your character, it's literally already a 3D model. You've got all these cool backgrounds. And by the way, the backgrounds change per your PFP NFT. It's you get Edinburgh, I've got a Buenos Aires one, you get Tokyo, you get I think it's Toronto, like all of the cities, all the major cities of the world, basically, you've got them, and it's all sort of cyberpunky. And I don't know, it does remind me of sort of the Cyberpunk 2077, the game, And I know, I just love it. So I think that's all I've got to say about that anyway.
Love it. Love it. Right. Good. So that's satoshiverse.io.
That's right. Thank you. All right. So comedy bit of the podcast. The idea is that we find a funny comedy bit that we want to show each other, and we'll play it, and then we'll explain why it is we like it, or maybe it doesn't need explaining at all. Maybe it's just a very short, oh, that was funny, haha, and we move on. But anyway, the man, the legend, and the recently deceased Norm Macdonald, just on an interview. It's not even one of his specials. It's not even one of his jokes. I just found this to be like, he's seen the way the interviewers thought it was going, and he was like, "Nah, I'm going to change this shit up." So, all right, here we go.
It's hotter than a $2
Well, he's got like 12 layers on it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be really cold.
Well, you're from Canada. This should be springtime.
No, I know I'm from Canada, but I'm still a human being. It's not like you're evolved differently. I'm from the frozen north.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets colder than It gets colder than
here it comes. Get your finger on the panic button.
No, it gets colder than a vampire's demeanor.
Wow. Surprisingly cerebral.
What do you guys are, man?
That's what I love about it. Like, everyone's like, "Oh no, watch out, he's just going to say something crass," and he just fucking clicks on it. He's like, "I'm going to change that shit." He's fucking genius. Yeah. I love him. A vampire's demeanor. Oh, Norm, gone too soon.
Yeah, he's something. Stream of consciousness.
yeah, it's funny. But yeah, it's called conversation.
Stream of consciousness. I'm from Minnesota. Awesome. Well, should we have some sort of, I guess we'll develop over time some sort of ending, but for now we should do some credits, but we don't really have any credits to do.
That's true. Well, we'll just do it. Like, I would like to take some time to thank my co-host and co-creator, Jason, Doc's Jason, who's a very kind individual. He's taught me much in the world. He's like a father figure to me, in fact.
Oh.
It's he's that much older than me. But no, I'm
Call me
really glad we
Grandpa.
got to do this. Really glad we got to do this. And yeah, here's to fucking 50 more at least.
At least, yeah, and I feel the same way, Ross. Yeah, what can I say? It's hard to make friends as an adult, and I think so.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you find someone even half a world away, it's important. It's important to embrace that and to make friends, and then of
not
course
be embarrassed.
and not be embarrassed. And then what do you do in 2021 when you make new friends? Well, you monetize it, of course. So that's
right.
That's so hopefully we'll get some ad drops in here one day.
Amen.
Oh, okay, my friend. It was nice talking to you. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah, sounds good. And thank you for the audience for tuning in. I'm sure it was a lot of fucking blather most of the time, but hopefully interesting blather.
Hopefully interesting. And if you have any feedback or comments, then you should email us at asknftpod@gmail.com. asknftpod@gmail.com. And you can visit us at nearlyfreshtopics.com.
Beautiful. All right, peace out, everyone.
All right, ciao.